It is the Jesse Kelly Show, final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Tuesday. Gonna try to wrap up this history story here on the Railway of Death, and then we'll get back to some politics. Gonna point out a talking point you're going to be hearing a lot of over the next year, 3 years from the communists, these ridiculous police chiefs in big cities, all that, emails, so much more. Joe Biden trying to take credit for peace. So much more coming up in the final hour of the Jesse Kelly Show, but I need to try to finish this story on the Railway of Death. So I already walked you through. You go down in a ship. Your friends get machine gun in front of you in the water. You end up on a hell ship, what they're known as. Then you end up at a prisoner of war camp. But you're only in this prisoner of war camp temporarily, because now they have to send you into the parts of the jungle where the railway is going to be built. A normal way you build a railroad is you start at both ends and you start to work your way towards the middle and meet in the middle. But I already said this was a 5-year project. The Japanese Empire is starting to lose the war. They don't have 5 years. They need it built now. So they would take large groups of soldiers. Again, almost all these guys are already sick, starving, and they would march them into the jungle where there is nothing. And there you have to try to make a camp close to the railway station you're working at. I call it a station. There's nothing there. You have to begin clearing out the jungle, leveling the ground. And this is a place where the monsoon season lasts 5 months. And when you show up, there are no facilities, not even a roof. The guys would talk about being rained on all day and all night with no cover at all. None. Think about that. And quickly your clothes, if you had any that they hadn't confiscated, they will quickly rot off of your body. I know if you've ever seen pictures of the Allied troops who were going through this, you've probably seen them in loincloths of some kind. Basically, makeshift underwear is what they were. And that did happen quite a bit. But you know the ugly truth of it? A lot of times they were just naked. You never had clothes because all the clothes rotted off of your body. You were treated brutally, and the brutality got worse. Why? Remember I told you about the Japanese culture and the hierarchy and the racism and everything else. Japan had also conquered Korea by this time. Remember I told you the Japanese at this time thought they were superior to all other Asians as well. They were the Japanese occupation of Korea could be a show in and of itself. What was done there is terrible. But they treated the Koreans horribly. They also conscripted the Koreans into the Japanese military. Now, remember this. You're not getting the best troops as camp guards anyway. You need your best troops out there fighting. So you're already getting the lowest quality Japanese soldier there is. Now you're bringing in Koreans, and all these Allied prisoners talk about the Koreans. The Japanese would routinely beat and savage the Koreans who worked for them and treated them like dogs. And in turn, the worst treatment on Allied troops was often done by Koreans who were working on behalf of the Japanese Empire. If you weren't working fast enough, you would be hit. All the Allied prisoners were hit all the time. They were always being beaten, always being hit. If, God forbid, somebody tried to escape, the punishments would range from just run-of-the-mill torture, like holding a heavy rock over your head, to chopping off your hands. They would forcibly fill up your stomach with water and then jump on you, which would rupture your insides. Terrible way to die. You would die that way. A very, very common way they would brutalize you for any kind of infraction And it could be a small infraction. If a Japanese officer walked by and you didn't bow properly, you could be punished and would be punished. They would put you in a bamboo cage where you couldn't stand, but you also couldn't really sit and stretch out your legs, and they would leave you in there for days on end. You're naked or just a loincloth. You are working like a dog day in and day out. And they were even brutal to animals. There were elephants that were initially helping build this railway through the jungle. Elephants are very family-oriented, very intelligent creatures. The Japanese were so brutal to the elephants ran away. They lost them all. So now you just have the Allied troops. You're also starving. And as time went on, the Japanese are starving too. There are no roads. There's no railway yet. It doesn't exist. And even if there was, the Japanese Empire is running out of stuff. You had to rely on the river, the flooding rivers, to try to float supplies to and fro. The Japanese troops don't have enough food. What's it like for our troops? They get a bowl of essentially disgusting rice pudding in the morning and maybe another soup of some kind later on. No protein to speak of, so you have to catch snakes, including poisonous king cobras. You have to catch and kill monkeys. If you see a disgusting grub underneath a rock, that is a choice piece of protein. You don't turn your nose up and squish it under your foot. You grab it and eat it because you're starving to death. If you look at any of the prisoners who worked on this railroad, they all look like Holocaust victims. That's how they look. It's the worst. It's the saddest thing. And there's another part of it, the disease. This is an area that has every disease, every horrible disease you can think of. Beriberi. That's where your legs swell up. It's terrible. Malaria, dysentery. The water situation's a nightmare, and I've explained dysentery before. You're losing all of it. And that brings me to the medical care. You don't have medicines for the most part. You would have guys who weren't even doctors. They're just a low-end medical guy in your unit, and he became the surgeon with amputations. Amputations with no anesthesia. One guy, it wasn't one guy, but one story I read, the guy had ulcers, jungle rot ulcers all over his legs. Those would get infected and you would die. If they didn't amputate your leg, you had to take care of the infection. But the doctor didn't have any medicine for him. He had to send him to the latrine to gather the maggots from the base of the latrine and put them on his wounds so they would eat away the infection, the rotted flesh, to save his leg. I'm being as nice as I can describing the disaster that this was. They even got to a place known to history as Hellfire Pass. You finally got out of the jungle, and instead you ran into a gigantic block of rock where you had to chip and chop away at it. Remember, you're starving, you're dying of disease, and you didn't get to take the day off if you were sick. The Japanese would storm into the medical tent and make people go out anyway. And they also thought it was funny sometimes to set off the explosives in Hellfire Pass when the Allied troops were nearby so they could enjoy the carnage as all this went on. I'm going to wrap this up with this. This took 14 months to build the Railway of Death. They did finish it. It was promptly bombed repeatedly by the Allies and hardly used at all. 16,000 Allied POWs died. 20 a day. You would go out with your buddies, and you knew you were going to bury one or two of them every single day. You had to bury them where they fell and then get right back to work. 90,000 civilians died. I didn't even mention them. All those countries Japan had conquered, they treated them like slave labor too, and they weren't as physically fit. They didn't have the medical knowledge of the troops, and they died at a much higher rate than even the troops did. And the worst part, not the worst part, one of the worst parts of this whole story was most people not only don't know what happened, the troops, when they got home from these camps, because it was late when they got home, they didn't get released till after the war, were almost universally ignored by their home countries. No parades. Oftentimes the government would deny benefits, and these guys were ravaged. Their physical health was bad for the rest of their lives. Their mental health was destroyed for the rest of their lives. And if you are an American, this happened to your people. If you're a Brit, if you're an Aussie, if you're Dutch, this happened. One of the worst stories in history, and it happened, and most people don't know about it. The Railway of Death, the Burma-Siam Railway. There is your history. Let's go back and talk about some politics. Joe Biden's taking credit for things. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a fantastic Tuesday. Remember, if you miss any part of the show, including the beginning of all that history, you can download it, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. You can email us, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. Joe Biden releases statement to let everyone know he got the ball rolling on the Gaza peace deal. These people are the biggest bunch of dirtballs in the world. There is, I would never want to be a Democrat, but in a way, wouldn't the complete lack of shame be kind of fun? If you just have no shame whatsoever, no shame at all, it would be enjoyable in a way. What, Chris? I don't really have shame? That's a good point. And it's a good time. I have a joy. I have a lot of fun with it. It can get heavy, I'll tell you.
It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
But I have a good time. Jesse, yesterday it sounded like you think striving for peace is a big waste of time. What are you talking about? Is that what I said? Is that what I said? What I said was it was wonderful. People being reunited with their families is wonderful. Even 15 minutes of peace is wonderful. Donald Trump deserves all the credit in the world. But don't kid yourself and think that it's lasting. Oh, you know what? Here's some headlines from today. Gaza ceasefire outlook darkens as Israel delays aid and Hamas tightens grip. Here's another one. Israel accuses Hamas of violating ceasefire and will reduce aid to Gaza. Oh, you want another? Hamas carries out public executions just hours after signing a peace treaty with Israel. I am going to burst your bubble on something. In politics, do you know why you care about politics? Same reason I care about politics. You love your country. And you understand the people who hold power at any level in your country. It's important. The things they push for, it is important. It matters. You love politics because it matters. This is why I could never do sports radio, even though I enjoy sports. It's so unimportant. It's not important. And I couldn't sit and scream and act like it matters all day long. What you care about matters. It's important. Because it matters. Because it is important. You and we get emotional about it. We do. And there's a danger in that. And sometimes, unless we're careful, we will get too high or we will get too low. It's human nature. And you have to avoid that. You have to work to avoid that because it doesn't serve you well to ever get too high or too low on politics. On the election, it's the most recent wonderful thing that happened. Donald Trump stomps Dome, wins the election, crushes her, and we're looking at the election results. He wins the popular vote, for Pete's sake. We don't ever do that anymore. Donald Trump takes it back. We look at the election. It is tempting to stand up and be like, oh my gosh, the communists are finally defeated once and for all. They've been rejected forever. We will now hold power for 100 straight years. They'll never come back. We have won. They are gone forever. Yeah, that's a mistake. You're only setting yourself up for disappointment. It was a huge, important win. Don't get too high. And exactly the opposite. Don't get too low. In the 4 years Joe Biden was president, felt like the world was coming to an end. Felt like it was going to happen any day. Any day, and the country will just implode. We won't make it another year. Don't get too low. When big things happen like a peace agreement, it's good, and we should celebrate. And Donald Trump and Marco Rubio, and really all of them, deserve so much credit for getting it done and getting all those people reunited with their families. That is wonderful. Don't sit and lie to yourself that Gaza is going to be beachfront property where you're going to be taking a vacation soon. Come on. This area will always be at war. Always. You cannot have something that is central to the three biggest religions on the planet and think they're all just going to share it. It doesn't work that way. There are always going to be problems here until the day you die. If you're 5 years old or 105 years old, there are always going to be problems. This is a wonderful, wonderful temporary pause. And that's all it is. A wonderful temporary pause before it all fires up again somehow, some way, because some idiot is going to do something violent and stupid, and it's all going to kick off again. Enjoy the day. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. All right? All right. Let's talk about something we've talked about before briefly. You're going to hear a lot of Democrats do what we're about to play. Next. It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Tuesday. Let's get right back to it here. So piggybacking off of something I had talked to you about before, you know, what do we always say? Communists lie about everything at all times. Every single word they use is designed to deceive. You can't sell, hey, I want to destroy everything you care about. That doesn't work. So you have to come up with different words. And I told you before that when they use words like deconstruct, decolonize, those are just euphemisms for destroy. Whenever you hear them talk about decolonizing something or deconstructing something, they're trying to destroy it. There is a third word I should have brought up. You're going to listen to this idiot actor, Mark Ruffalo. He's going to use it.
What do we do to make life better for everybody? We certainly have enough. I mean, we just created the most number of billionaires in the history of the world. You know, we have enough. We could do this, but it's going to take some reimagining of what America is.
Reimagine. Whenever you hear a communist use the word reimagine, that also means destroy. They know destroy's not a great seller in politics. It's hard to win the people over with destroy. That's what reimagine means. That's what deconstruct means. That's what decolonize means. Whatever they're trying to reimagine, they are trying to destroy. All communists lie about everything at all times. They are extremely purposeful with their language. It is carefully selected. Speaking of which, remember this little bit I played for you about Abigail Spanberger? And she's asked about men and women's bathrooms, men and women's sports. This unbelievable non-answer she gives. But part of the non-answer she gives is she keeps referencing parents and local control and parents. And look, here she was.
Focusing on a K through 12 school system, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams? You have 60 seconds.
On issues related to what's happening in our schools and each individual community, I think it's important that we have parents and teachers and administrators making decisions about their individual schools, not politicians.
Once again, the question was, should transgender girls who are biological males be allowed to use girls' bathrooms and play on girls' sports teams in K through 12? You have 15 seconds to clarify.
In cases across Virginia, I think it's incumbent upon parents and educators and administrators in each local community to make decisions.
Did that sound familiar, that answer? If you have a mind like a steel trap, maybe it did sound familiar. I think this was, what was this, a couple months ago, Chris? 2-3 months ago? The Rear Admiral, Pete Buttigieg, who also wants to be president, he was asked a very similar question. And wow, this answer he gives sounds familiar, doesn't it?
When President Trump says something like no boys and girls sports, which is a phrase that they use, it sounds like you're not signing on to that.
I think that chess is different from weightlifting, and weightlifting is different from volleyball, and middle school is different from the Olympics. So that's exactly why I think that we shouldn't be grandstanding on this as politicians. We should be empowering communities and organizations and schools to make the right decisions.
Hey, it's up to the school. It's up to each school. It's up to the parents. Mark my words, write it down, take a picture. This is going to be the answer Democrats give across the country for the next 3 years until 2028, when they are confronted by this question. They will be repeatedly confronted by this question because it's an 80-20 issue they are on the wrong side of. And no matter where they are asked this question, unless it is the bluest area in the world and they don't need any Republican votes, whenever they are asked this question, they will give some version of kicking the can down the road and saying, hey, not my problem. It's up to the school itself. It's up to the community. It's up to the parents. I think it's up to the community. It's the only answer you can give when you're on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. Hey, man, not even my authority. Ask someone else. Of course, they're communists and they're lying, and they 100% believe dudes should be in the locker room waving his penis around in front of your doctor, but that's a hard sell in politics too, so they lie about everything at all times. Lying about everything at all times. Speaking of which, here's that filthy commie Jayapal talking about the government shutdown.
If you control the House, the Senate, and the White House, it is your responsibility to find the votes to pass a bill that keeps government open.
Now, you can scream and yell that there aren't enough Republican votes in the Senate. We don't have 60 Republican votes in the Senate. So Democrats have to vote for a continuing resolution or the government stays shut down. Jayapal knows that as well. But she also knows the truth is dangerous for the world of make-believe she creates for her communist followers, so she has to give answers like this. Communists lie about everything all the time.
If you control the House, the Senate, and the White House, it is your responsibility to find the votes to pass a bill that keeps government open.
Tiny hands. Just when I think your takes can't get any worse after the botched results of your worst country in the world contest, you dare come on the radio and tell me to put green onions in blue cheese to dip my wonderful chips in. I'm telling you, I already got enough pushback from Chris and Corey yesterday. I'm telling you, a potato chip, not a corn chip, mind you. Corn chip's a different animal. Those really need a cheese of some kind. You need a queso dip of some kind. A potato chip. Don't sleep on a good blue cheese. It can be straight up blue cheese dressing or a blue cheese dip. What, Chris? Chris said, what if I don't like mold? All cheese is mold, Chris. Stop lying to yourself. No, it's not a lie. It's all mold. It's all just milk that went bad at different stages. Stop majoring on the minor, Chris. Just attempt to embrace it. Yeah, I've already got you talked into mayo on your cheesesteak by now. You've already come around and realized the greatness of adding a little tang to the old cheesesteak. What? It's not simplicity to the order. Why don't you just admit that you like it, Chris? What is it? You know what? I think this is a you people problem because you know what? I had to go through this with my old campaign manager who was Jewish too. And this was not about cheesesteaks. It was about breakfast sandwiches. And we were talking about, bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwiches, bacon, egg, and cheese bagels. Or I was just talking about straight up egg sandwiches because he couldn't have the bacon. You understand. And I would always put mayo or Miracle Whip on them. He was mortified. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Over and over and over again. Stop putting that on there. And I would explain. It has a little tang. Little zip, Miracle Whip, just like the commercial says. Little tang, little zip, Miracle Whip. Finally, one day, he tries it. Should have seen the shame when he realized that I had been right all these years. Why are you people being like this, Chris? Wake up and smell the mayo, Chris. Wake up and smell the mayo. It's time. And Corey, don't shake your head. You order patty melts without onions. There's no point in getting a patty melt if there aren't onions on it. I've never even heard of that before. And then you get a side of onion rings. A patty melt with no onions and a side of onion rings. Nobody does that. You don't even get a say in this whole thing. It is the Jesse Kelly Show, final segment of the Jesse Kelly Show on a wonderful Tuesday, but we shall return tomorrow. You can email us, jesse@jessekellyshow.com. You remember that idiot Cincinnati police chief when that old white couple got the crap beat out of them by these savages in Cincinnati, and she went on the news and lectured all of us for sharing it?
Social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you. The social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred.
Definitely sounds like she's the type who's going to clean up crime, right? Definitely sounds like she's going to find the bad guys and lock them up. Of course, the people who did the assaulting were multi-time felons. I mean, look, you know the whole story. Well, she's back in the news. See, a couple people got shot. And let me tell you what, this woman sounds like she's all about law and order.
So my message to everybody, learn how to behave in our city, but especially learn how to behave in our downtown and our Fountain Square. And our officers will approach you if you start to behave disorderly on Fountain Square. Because these things sometimes start as a minor altercation and then evolve into something bigger. So do not come downtown, especially on Fountain Square, if you don't know how to behave.
Learn how to behave, guys. This is the state of big city police departments. So drowning in cultural Marxist filth, they find the biggest doofus woman they can find and make her the police chief. And now when people get gunned down in the streets of Cincinnati, the best you can get is, everyone behave, or I'm keeping you after class. So friggin' pathetic. Almost pathetic as Chris still pitching for Mayo, or against Mayo, during the commercial break. Do you know what he said to me? He said to me, Mayo isn't for the flavor, it's for the texture. Is there something you'd like to share with all of us, Chris, right here? I don't eat mayo. Is it the... No, I'm just curious. Is it the creamy texture you're looking for? That's weird. That's weird. I didn't take you for a Lindsey Graham fan. I'm just saying, all the years I've enjoyed mayo, never once did I bite into a delicious sandwich with mayo on it and think, that's the texture in my mouth I was looking for. Never even occurred to me one time, but it's weird. That's what occurred to you. Huh. Let's do some emails. Hey, Bronco Oracle, with the Dems freaking out about Trump 2028, what are your thoughts on JD Vance in a Rubio ticket? Rubio's a star in Florida and a reformed neocon. His name is TJ. So I have this thing about politics and politicians. In fact, I have a rule. Yeah, I call it the Chris Christie rule. If you've listened for a long time, you will know what I'm talking about. Here's the Chris Christie rule. There was a time, I know if you haven't followed politics for a while, you'll think I'm lying, but there was a time where Chris Christie was the newly elected Republican governor of New Jersey, and he was this tough-talking guy, and he was the hottest thing in Republican politics. People across the country were in love with him, and he was being heavily drafted to run for president. Chris Christie was a bright, shining star at one point in time. Maybe you're rolling your eyes or scoffing at that. Oh, good, I'm glad you are, because that brings me to the Chris Christie effect. One bad photo op, one or two bad decisions, and you can go from being the belle of the ball to being a punchline. Chris Christie now is a punchline. He's a joke. He's widely mocked in Republican circles. When I say to people that he was the hottest thing in Republican politics, they laugh and think I'm joking if they don't remember, but he was. The truth is, I am extremely impressed with JD Vance. That I'm not as surprised about because I liked JD anyway. I am really impressed with Marco Rubio as well. That I am surprised about because I always thought he was kind of milquetoast and lame and doesn't seem that way anymore. I am so impressed with both of them. And you ask me right now, on October 14th, 2025, if I like the thought of a potential JD Vance Marco Rubio ticket, the answer is I do. But 2028 is a long ways away. No, I don't foresee either one of those guys with some kind of gigantic screw up, but I'm not a prophet. I don't know what could happen. I don't know. As of right now, I could see it. I would certainly vote for it. I just try to not get too far ahead of my skis whenever we're so hungry for decent Republican politicians because we've had so many crappy ones for so long that we can tend to be a bit of a cheap date. Meaning, hey, just buy me a flower. Buy me a flower and I'll fall in love. Just give me one good thing. Talk tough to the media one time and you'll be my new king. That has bitten us many times before. Don't fall in love with politicians. All right.
And now,
here's a headline.
You know the thing.
Headlines we didn't get to.
ICE nabs alleged illegal alien truck driver with, quote, no name given license. Somebody actually gave him a license. This is New York, by the way, with no name given. The steps blue states have taken to hand your entire country over to illegals is enough to make your head pop off. I fought for this country, and it means nothing. Haunting last words of veteran who killed himself after being refused a house by the council who said he wasn't a priority. He's an Afghanistan veteran. This took place in the UK as they hand their whole country over to Sharia law, just spitting in the face of their troops. What a disgrace that country's become. Air traffic control shortages during the government shutdown. What to know? What to know is you should probably drive. I'll come see you again tomorrow. That's all.